Hey up, Poppy, you alright?
Hello and welcome back to Relive the League episode and game week 11. This week you've got an 8-goal thriller at Ewood Park to look forward to. There's 35,000 in attendance at Anfield watching Liverpool and Sheffield Wednesday. Just over 6,000 there to watch Wimbledon and Villa, which goes to show how much the times have changed. And there's also braces to watch for Gary Penrice at QPR, Dean Saunders at Aston Villa, both Alan Shearer and Roy Wegley for Blackburn, and the ageing warrior John Walk, he also grabs a brace for Ipswich.
And before we press the rewind button, just a quick one. I know it's been a slight delay in this episode coming out. We had some personal stuff that we went through. Unfortunately, Ben's mum, Jo, passed away, so we are just dedicating this episode to Jo as well. So, yeah, thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much for that, Michael. So it's time to press that rewind button. Let's relive the league. And first up this week, we go to Highbury, the London derby between Chelsea and Arsenal.
Arsenal line up with David Seaman in goal, a back four of Tony Adams, Steve Ball, Nigel Winterburn and Lee Dixon, with David Hillier, John Jensen and Paul Merson in midfield. Up front, Alan Smith, Kevin Campbell and Ian Wright. On the bench are Alan Miller, Colin Pates and Swedish international Anders Lindberg. For Chelsea, Kevin Hitchcock in goal, Frank Sinclair, David Lee, Mal Donaghy and Gareth Hall at the back, with Eddie Newton, Nigel Spackman, Andy Townsend and Dennis Wise in midfield, and up front are Robert Fleck and Mick Harford. On the bench for Chelsea are Alec Chamberlain, Graham Stewart and John Spencer. In the 10th minute today, Gareth Hall made a great tackle on Kevin Campbell. The ball found itself with Paul Merson 35 yards out. He dawdled forward a few yards and then produced the most audacious chip over the top of Kevin Hitchcock to make it 1-0 to the Arsenal. Into the second half then, and in the 69th minute, Andy Townsend nearly ended Ian Wright's career. The ball went forward, Kevin Campbell was clean through on goal, and Gareth Hall took him out. Penalty to Arsenal. Wright, Campbell, Merson, John Jensen, Anders Lindberg. Who's on penalty duties today? Oh, it's Lee Dixon. And he's missed. The fullback's missed a penalty. Good save, Hitchcock. 1-0 Arsenal. The 79th minute, there was a bit of back and forth hoofball, which eventually found itself with Mick Harford. He played the ball to Rob Fleck, who in turn passed it to Townsend, back out to Harford. He's took a touch, looked up, taken another touch, pinged the ball in perfectly behind Steve Ball for the smallest man on the pitch, Dennis Wise, to make it 1-1. What was Ball doing there? The Arsenal fans were fuming and they all called out for one thing, and that was a little tricky Swede named Anders. And George Graham gave them their wish. The ball found itself out on the left wing with the tricky Swede, who beat Nigel Spackman, put a ball in and put it on a plate for Ian Wright to win it for the Gunners. 2-1 to Arsenal.
And Ian Wright has scored 5 goals in 5 games now. Back-to-back wins for the Gunners. Just 1 win in 5 for Chelsea. It's about time the pre-season favourites found a bit of form. Merson and Wright amongst the goals. The only way is up. Next up, we've got Blackburn Rovers at home to Norwich City. Top versus second. Both teams have only lost once so far this season. Surely we're in for a thriller today.
And in what should be an epic encounter, Blackburn line up with Bobby Mims in goal, Colin Hendry, Kevin Moran, Alan Wright and Richard Brown at the back. In midfield, Gordon Cowans, Tim Sherwood, Mark Atkins and Stuart Ripley, with Roy Wegley and Alan Shearer up front. On the bench, goalkeeper Stuart Collier, Nicky Marker and Jason Wilcox. For Norwich, Brian Gunn in goal, Ian Butterworth, Mark Bowen, Ian Culverhouse, Darryl Such and Chris Sutton at the back. In midfield, Jeremy Goss, Ian Crook and David Phillips, with Mark Robbins and Rob Newman up front. On the bench are Mark Walton, John Paulston and Lee Power. The scene, Ewood Park. The Premier League, 2 titans sitting at the top of the league. Blackburn, of course, with star striker Shearer. How will we get on? The first goal came with, well, it's a thing of beauty. It's a Colin Hendry sliding tackle, hoof ball, 300 yards up the pitch, and Shearer turned on some serious afterburners there to beat Ian Butterworth. Went round him, played it to Roy Wegley, who he scored at his second bite of the cherry. He deserved that, but Roy, deeper studs next time. The second goal today came after, guess what? A Colin Hendry who ball forward to the corner of the pitch. Wegley chased it down with equal speed to Shearer. He got the ball, turned Bowen inside out, passed the ball back to Cowans. He floated a cross in, and there was former Norwich City man Tim Sherwood to make it 2-0 to Blackburn. That's Sherwood's first goal for Rovers since making the £500,000 switch from Carrow Road in the summer. Sitting pretty at 2-0, Blackburn got themselves a free kick from about 25 yards out. There was only one man going to stand over and strike this ball, and that was record signing Alan Shearer. There's Brian Gunn and his amazing technical goalkeeping kit. Shearer, direct run up from, well, straight into David Phillips' family jewels and out for a corner. But the man's on fire. Norwich aren't the league leaders for nothing. They're no pushovers. Mark Bowen with some great play down the left and just a bad touch by Mark Robbins. And then, well, that's sexy by Colin Hendry. Proper centre-half play. Right into Rose End. Another beautiful hoof ball forward for the run of Alan Shearer, who again got the better of Ian Butterworth and then looked up, squared the ball to American international Roy Wegley, who on his first start for Blackburn made it 3-0 and his second goal of the day. A more composed finish from Wegley there, no slipping over this time, but again, sensational play by the king, Alan Shearer. In the 39th minute, Stuart Ripley went on one of his trademark runs up the left, failed to cross it in, it was cut out by Butterworth, he hooked one forward. Kevin Moran headed it on for, well, the other team, and Rob Newman raced clear, looked up and smashed home to make it 3-1. They're in first place. They've done it before. Is the Canaries comeback on? The fans are jubilant. They've travelled a long way. They believe. The players are confident too. Mainly young centre-back, come strike kick, come, well, whatever number shirt he's given. Chris Sutton going on an amazing run forward, trying to get the second goal back. But the ball, well, it was played through for Alan Shearer. He raced onto it, saw Brian Gunn off his line, and with one of the most delicate chips you'll ever see, made it 4-1 to Rovers. into the second half then, and Blackburn was still hungry. Some great forward play by fullback Richard Brown. Played the ball out to Mark Atkins. He played the ball back and a great ball forward to Shearer. Fantastic turn. And he's tried it again, but it's a lame one and it's gone wide and it's still 4-1. But he's brilliant. Look at him. Just look at him. On his first start for Rovers, American Roy Wegley was looking for his hat-trick, but the defence was too cool. Bowen back to... Oh! Gunn's chipped it. Wegley, what's Gunn doing? Wegley, 3. Oh, Roy. 4-1. He's missed the sitter. Let's just take another look at this. Mark Bowen, cool under pressure. Back to the cool keeper, Brian Gunn, who for some reason, but I don't know what he's doing, and I think even more so there. And then look at Roy. He even takes a look up and then just chips it. I'm going to send that to Nick Hancock. He's making a football bloopers video in a couple of years. A couple of beautiful things happen in this clip. Mainly a sensational long ball forward again for an Alan Shearer run. But look, who's chasing him at the back there? None other than his future SAS partner, Chris Sutton, who, well, rugby tackles him to the floor. It's a straight red card. I'm sure they'll have lots to laugh about this in a couple of years. Well, that's cynical from Sutton. What's a striker doing at the back anyway? And the only way to stop Shearer is to chuck him on the floor. It's a yellow. Well, I never. Anyway, free kick to Blackburn. Who's having this one? Shearer loves him. He can hit him. But Cowans, he ain't half got a good right foot on him from this position. The old master makes it 5-1 to Blackburn. The battle of the top two in the Premier League is proving to be a little bit one-sided to the Northerners, the money bags. Look at that for a finish from Cowans. 5-1. Not to shine too much of a dark light on Ian Butterworth's performance, but Shearer had his pants down today. And here he goes again, keeping the ball away from him, crossing the ball in, Sutton gets it away. And there's Stuart Rickley for his third goal of the season and his third goal for Blackburn since moving from Middlesbrough in the summer. The Rovers fans are jubilant, and why not? They're blowing Norwich out the water. Brian Gunn even wore his most garish kit to try and stun the strikers today. It's had the opposite effect. Ripley's tail was wagging and he wanted more. He went for a marauding run down the left, cut back inside, found Alan Shearer. He looked up, saw Gunn off his line again, but decided to just give him the ball instead. 6-1. Come on, Al. You're better than that, aren't you? Should we prove it? Here you go. Late on, a cross come in and a trademark header into the far post from Shearer makes it 7-1 and takes Blackburn to the top of the league. That's now 12 goals in 11 games since his record signing from Southampton for Shearer. There were 7 goals today. He got himself 4 assists and 2 goals. He's perfect.
Well, surely this sends out a chilling message to the rest of the league with how frightening this team is. Jack Walker has spent millions to assemble his team, and look at what they've done to the league leaders. Absolutely devastating. This is Blackburn's biggest win since the 1963-64 season, and Blackburn, got promoted last season, and now they are
going to do it, aren't they?
The Premier League.
They're going to buy it.
Go on, the boys.
Do it.
Shearer. Next up at Highfield Road, we've got Crystal Palace taking on the high-flying Coventry City.
And Coventry line up with the evergreen Steve Grizovic in goal and a back four of Andy Pearce, Kenny Sansom, Peter Atherton and Brian Burrows. In midfield, Lee Hurst and Lloyd McGrath, and the famous 4 attackers up front going wherever they want of Robert Rosario, Kevin Gallagher, John Williams and Peter Unlow. On the bench are Jonathan Gould, Phil Babb and Terry Fleming. And again, it's difficult to see what Steve Coppell's done with this formation, but I'll give it a go. Nigel Martin in goal, Eric Young, Richard Shaw, Lee Sinnott and Gareth Southgate at the back, and midfield 2 of Chris Coleman and Simon Osborne. On the left wing, John Solarco, the right wing, Eddie McGoldrick, and Paul Williams and Chris Armstrong up front, I think. On the bench, Paul Held, Jeff Thomas and Stan Collymore. After only 7 minutes today, Coventry got themselves a free kick on the left. Leader swung it in, and Andy Pearce bulleted header home as only Andy Pearce can do. 1-0 to the Sky Blues. Bobby Gould barely had time to sit down after his celebrations because on the 8th minute, Richard Shaw powered a free kick forward. It was cleared by a defender, but only as far as the dead-eye himself, Chris Coleman, who smashed home to make it 1-1. And just 10 minutes later, not long after the fastest postman in the world, who we've lovingly christened Amazon Prime, John Williams, had hit the post. Kevin Gallagher produced a great diving header from a Peter Unlove cross to make it 2-1 to the Sky Blues. Then on the 38th minute, the familiar sight of John Solarco whipping one in from the left, and Mr. Reliable himself, Eddie McGoldrick, heading home to make it 2-2. There's 38 minutes gone. There's less than 12,000 in attendance. They're not going to be excited. But we're not even at half time yet. How's this one going to finish?
It's finished 2-2. The second half to delete from history. Coventry, they've drawn their third consecutive league game, despite twice taking the lead. A decent point away from Oldham Palace, but they remain in the relegation places. Well, Mike, at half time I was absolutely buzzing. 2-2.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be 10-0. Even Chris Coleman got a goal. It was exciting, and then...
What?
And then out.
Nothing.
Well, Coventry are playing 4 attackers and Palace are playing 712 defenders, so it might suit. Yeah.
Well, let's just leave it at that. 2-2.
Leave it at that. Point each. Bye now.
Next up, we have the current champions of England, Leeds United, travelling to Portman Road to take on Ipswich. This is the Battle of Scotland. In the middle of the park, we've got a combined age of 70. We've got John Walk versus Gordon Strachan. Let the battle begin.
An Ipswich line-up with Craig Forrest in goal, Phil Whelan, David Linnigan, Neil Thompson and Mick Stockwell, who was a striker a couple of weeks ago, at the back. In midfield, Geraint Williams, Jason Dezelle, Gavin Johnson on the left and John Walk on the right wing, because why not? He's played everywhere else this season. And up front, Paul Goddard and Chris Kiwomya. On the bench are Clive Baker, Glenn Pennyfather and Eddie Yowes. And for Leeds, we've got John Lukic in goal, Chris Fairclough, Chris White, Tony DeRigo and a young David Batty at the back. Gary McAllister, Gary Speed, an ancient Gordon Strachan and Scott Sellers in midfield, with Eric Cantona and Lee Chapman up front. On the bench are Mervyn Day, John Newsom and David Rocastle. And as Ben touched on at the start, this is a battle between two aging Scottish warriors. But it's also a battle of potentially the two best kits of the season. And who better to model them than John Walk with that mullet and that tash and that beautiful Umbro Ipswich kit. And then Leeds' yellow away kit modelled by Gordon Strachan with his beautiful dinner lady haircut. What a game this is going to be. A little bit of a shaky start for the champions today, with Chris White trying something a little too delicate for Scott Sellers to read. That presented Paul Goddard with a chance to make it 1-0 to Ipswich. But my eyes should eat a lady in Chris Kiwomya there. Just watch this back. Look at the acres of space Kiwomya was in the middle. All he had to do, roll it in for an open goal, 1-0. But he never. Corner to Ipswich. And from the resulting corner, taken by set-piece specialist and thighs like oak trees, Neil Thompson, he swung it in. It landed on the head of Kiwomya, who knocked it past John Lukic and went and did a little samba on the sideline. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys. And Leeds kept on pushing, and mainly through one man. Eric Cantona tried to force his way through the full defence. Chapman didn't read the 1-2, played it out to DeRigo. He pinged a ball in towards Cantona. It was cleared, fell to speed, cleared, then Cantona just looped one up in air and Craig Forrest caught it, 1-0. 23-year-old midfielder David Batty was deputising at right back, and I don't think he'll play there many times again. His hospital ball here was found by the midfield, and then he went through Chris Kiwomya on the edge of the box. He did go up to Mr. Ellery and politely tell him that I never touched him, but the free kick was given. Now down at Portman Road, at Ipswich this season, they've got an embarrassment of riches for men who can stand over a dead ball. Namely, Neil Thompson and that thunderbolt of a left peg. Or the style and panache of mullet man John Walk. Who's going to take this? If Thompson hits this with that run-up, the net's going to come off the back. It looks like it is Walk, and he's hit it. And, well, Mr. Lukic, that won't be going in any coaching manuals. But the technique shown by Walk could well be. What a player this man is. 2-0 Ipswich. Ipswich certainly had a taste for it and were playing some wonderful football. Kiwomya found Johnson out on the wing, who looked up, gave the ball into Goddard. He controlled it, turned around, looked out for some reason out wide to the wing, because it's John Walk, who tried a ridiculous volley. Lukic fumbled it, like I did my words then. Kiwomya tried to dink it over, and, well, do you remember I said earlier on about David Batty playing right back? It were his hospital ball that lost possession for Leeds that led up to the free kick, and his stupid foul on the edge of the box on Kiwomya, which gave Ipswich the free kick that we're going to score from. And now he's wiped out Paul Goddard in the box, giving him a chance to get a third. I don't know if this new skinhead haircut that he's done for himself's doing him any favours. Anyway, penalty to Ipswich. I'll give you 3 guesses at who's going to take it. Well, it's John Walk, isn't it? He looks like he's going to hit it 300 mile an hour, but he side-footed it, and my good gosh, I think that's the best penalty I've ever seen. In my opinion, and that's the only one that matters because I've got the microphone, no goalkeeper in any league in the world would pick this. What a pen. Into the second half then, and the lead was also very nearly lengthened by young midfield superstar Jason Dazelle. And it was a matter of millimetres. Just went over the fingertips of John Lukic and hit the bar, but that would have been 4-0 against the champions. 10 minutes into the second half then, in a game that Ipswich were very comfortable in, and Craig Forrest too comfortable. He chipped the ball back, and Cantona, well, he chased it down like a bloodhound. And he's after a goal. He's going to air into the box. There's Strachan there. He's going to let the ball run. Cross came in from McAllister. There's Chapman. That's come off Stockwell. Chapman's going to claim it. Of course, he's got 9 on his back. Looks like an own goal by Stockwell. But Chapman's going to claim it anyway. 3-1. Had a champions back in the game. Some great play from Leeds in and around the box. And some phenomenal tenacity by Cantona setting up the goal. As always, Gary McAllister with a pinpoint cross. And let's just see who got the final touch on this. Was it Stockwell? Actually, I think it's come off Lee Chapman's John Thomas. It's Lee Chapman's goal. Then, just under 10 minutes later, Tony Dorigo got the ball in the left-back position. He's played the ball down the wing towards, well, let's just say, the slow Lee Chapman and the equally slow David Lineker. He's put it out for a corner. He thinks he's being pushed by Chapman, but he hasn't. You're not going to get anything off David Ellery, are you? Let's face it. So Leeds have got a corner. It's 3-1. We can see the dinner lady going over to take it and place it. He's a dead ball specialist, isn't he? What can come of this? There's Chris Wright wants to get his head on the ball. The ball's coming from Strachan. It's Speed! 3-2. Speedo's got one. Gary Speed, the best looking player in the Premier League, probably. Leeds are back in this. They might be back in it, Leeds, but that don't mean this Ipswich team are going to give up. Goddard finds Walk, deep cross in. There's Jason Dazelle! 4-2 to the Tractor Boys. He loves it. Everything comes through John Walk. A first goal for a man who a lot of people have a lot of high hopes for in this game. And look at this from John Walk. Proper handshake. Well done, Jason. And they weren't going to stop there, Ipswich. Chris Kiwomya went on another run forward to try and get another goal and give it to John Walk again to try and get another goal. But I don't know what the effort was, to be fair. And Lukic just pushed it wide, but he could have caught it in his mouth, if I'm honest. The chances coming were all for Ipswich. And, well, on another day, this would have been an absolute drubbing. Again, one over the top for Kiwomya. He ran through, nobody tackled him. He took 300 touches in the box, could have placed it anywhere in the goal, but somehow placed it in one place where John Lukic's glove was. After some fairly heavy ball bouncing by Craig Forrest, he absolutely hooned one up the pitch. Chris Fairclough headed it. It went as far as Neil Thompson, who played Kiwomya, he's got the freedom of the park again. There he goes. Chris Smith. 4-2. Should be 76-2. Kiwomya should have 74 of them. We'll just say it's unlucky. Unlucky, Chris. As always with Leeds, and typically Howard Wilkinson's Leeds, they didn't give up till a bitter end. But today, a bitter end it was. They couldn't deal with the pace of Chris Kiwomya up front or the wisdom of John Walk. They tried to put a late chance in. Nobody could get on the end of it. It landed in the hands of the Canadian Forest, and the full-time whistle was blown. A famous win for the Tractor Boys against the champions of England. John Walk does it again.
Well, Leeds remain winless on the road this season, and Ipswich are still unbeaten at home. A very entertaining game with John Walk beating Strachan in a midfield battle. 4-2 to Ipswich. We all at Leeds. And next up, we head to Anfield for Liverpool against Sheffield Wednesday. Liverpool are in shocking form at the moment. They've only won 2 games all season so far, and they haven't even kept a clean sheet yet. The pressure's on Souness. What can he do today?
Liverpool line up with Bruce Grobbelaar in goal, Torben Picnic, David Burrows, Steve Nicol and Mike Marsh at the back, Paul Stewart, Jamie Redknapp, Steve McManaman and Mark Walters in the middle, with Don Hutchison behind Ian Rush up front. On the bench are David James, Nick Tanner and Ronnie Rosenthal. For Sheffield Wednesday, it's Chris Woods in goal, Peter Shirtliff, Nigel Worthington, Viv Anderson and Roland Nilsson at the back, Carlton Palmer, John Harkes, Chris Waddle and Chris Bart-Williams in midfield, with Matt Bright and Paul Warhurst up front. On the bench are Kevin Pressman, Graham Hyde and Gordon Watson. Liverpool were quite dominant today and showed it early doors with some great combination play from young Jamie Redknapp and Steve McManaman, who whipped the ball in to try and find Ian Rush. Chris Woods got there first and the ball came out to Mark Walters and the ball was cleared off the line, but no bother anyway. There was an offside given. It wouldn't have counted. It's quite glum times down at Anfield and Souness can't seem to switch it on. Liverpool were pouring on even more pressure. Rush, Redknapp, played by Harkes. Paul Stewart, great ball down the wing, sending the speedster Mark Walters, who crosses one in. There's Hutchison, Woods, what a save. Woods again, Woods 3 times. England's number 1, what a goalkeeper. Watch this. Walters gets it, Hutchison gets it, that should be in, that's a great save. But cross again is denied McManaman from 3 yards. What a keeper. Liverpool kept trying, but they're up against one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Some great play out wide by McManaman and Mike Marsh. Into Jamie Redknapp, back to Marsh. Here's David Burrows from 30 yards. Who knew he had that in him? What a rocket. Wide, 0-0. Not long later, Danish international Torben Picnic did the most precise headed pass in football history to send Ian Rush clear. But Woods was there again. Now, watch this header again by Torben here. Absolute precision. Great dodge by Don Hutchison. Rush was so close to getting on, but Woods is world class. Jeff Wednesday kept plugging away, trying to create some chances here. Chris Bart-Williams played through Paul Warhurst, who, well, Steve Nichols put him under some great pressure, and then he got his pitching wedge out and fired it into the Anfield Road end. And then the godlike genius Carlton Palmer was put through on goal, but it seems he'd borrowed Paul Warhurst's pitching wedge. Now we're going to get on bobble watch because there's no way Carlton Palmer could have done that without any slip. Look at the majesty he holds himself when he runs. He's looked up. Yeah, no, there was a definite bobble there. I'm counting that down to a molehill. Carlton Palmer is gone. 10 minutes to go here at Anfield then. Carlton Palmer passes the ball to Roland Nilsson, who's closed down brilliantly by Ian Rush, and then arguably Liverpool's best player of this period, Mark Walters, picks the ball up and sprints down the wing. Some good pressure by veteran Viv Anderson, but Walters is too good and too tricky for him. He puts a cross in, McManaman heads it down, and there's Don Hutchison firing it into the ground and over the Sheffield Wednesday defence. That was the only way they were going to beat Woods. but it's a first league goal and a first Premier League goal for Don Hutchison. Woods doesn't deserve that at all, but Liverpool have piled relentless pressure on, and probably for the first time this season, a deserved win. Great play by Walters. An accidental knockdown off the defender's back by McManaman, and then not the cleanest strike by Don. Is it better? He'll take that though. There was one last chance for Liverpool from a Steve McManaman corner. Roland Nielsen headed clear. The ball was left to Don Hutchison, 25 yards out, who nearly got a wonder goal for his second goal of the game. But the ball kept on rising. Hopefully, like what Liverpool are going to do now for the rest of the season. They've dominated again finally. They've got 3 points. Are they going to be able to build on this? Surely they're going to.
Well, a huge sigh of relief there for Liverpool. Without that win and other results going against them, they'd been in relegation zone. A big 3 points for the Reds before a huge game next week at Old Trafford. 1-0. Next up, we've got Nottingham Forest travelling to Main Road to take on Manchester City, who haven't scored in any of their last 3 games. Forest still rock bottom of the league. So, yeah, not expecting many fireworks today.
Man City line up with Tony Coton in goal, Keith Curle, Terry Phelan, Ian Brightwell and Andy Hill at the back, with Steve McMahon and Fitzroy Simpson in the middle, with Rick Holden and David White on the wings, Niall Quinn and Mike Shearer up front. On the bench are Martin Margetson, manager Peter Reid and AD Mike. For Nottingham Forest, as always, it's Mark Crossley in goal, Carl Tyler, Stuart Pearce, Brian Laws and Gary Crosby at the back, with Ray McKinnon, Roy Keane, Toddy Orlickson and Scott Gemmell in midfield, and Nigel Clough behind Gary Bannister up front. On the bench are Andy Marriott, Kingsley Black and Ian Warren. A lot of people were expecting a battle between, well, the boring in today's game. City haven't scored in a while, Forest sitting at the bottom of the league, but Mike Shearer decided to try and change that perception of the game with an early 30-yard shot, and Mark Crossley with a superb save tipping it over the bar. And it was in the 17th minute the game came to life. Keith Curle whacked a free kick forward, a beautiful nod on by Niall Quinn. Fitzroy Simpson won the ball in the box, and there was summer signing Rick Holden to, well, prod home to make it 1-0 to City. City took the lead into the second half until the 56th minute when Forest got a throw in and found Toddy Orlickson, who, with a beautiful ball up the right, found Gary Crosby, who advanced forward, looked inside, found Nigel Clough, who saw Ray McKinnon coming in off the left, who fired home to make it 1-1. Forest were hungry and Nigel Clough was pulling strings. He found Scott Gemmell here, who was about to run clear through on goal. Curle cynically wiped him out, and then, well, look at that referee's hair, like a lovely permed lion's mane. He calls Curle over, gives him a booking, but it only means one thing. Stuart Pearce, his famous 800-yard run-up free kicks, he's hit that. Nearly brought the board in two, but he missed the goal. City wanted this, and they were showing it. Peter Reid brought himself on, and just after the hour mark, Rick Holden found Terry Phelan down the left wing. He whipped a cross in. Niall Quinn put Crossley under pressure. He didn't deal with it well, and there was Fitzroy Simpson to smash home to make it 2-1 to Man City. Now, if you ever want to show somebody true beauty, show them this clip. Mark Crossley threw the ball out to Stuart Pearce. He took his time on the ball, showed a little patience, played it into Scott Gemmell and made a forward run. Gemmell found that run. Give the ball to Pearce. He gave the ball to Gary Bannister. Pearce carried on that forward run into the box. Bannister found him. And Stuart Pearce scored, well, put any other kit on of any other European giants and that clip would have been played over and over again as total football. Mr. Stuart Pearce, ladies and gentlemen, 2-2.
Well, I was wrong. It turned out to be a fairly exciting game in the end. Forest stealing a point late on, but they do remain bottom of the league. But they are playing a lot better than they were at the start of the season. 3 games unbeaten now, although they are all draws. And next up, we've got Man United travelling to Middlesbrough. This is on the back of United travelling all the way to Russia midweek to take on Torpedo Moscow. And after a 0-0 draw, it went to extra time, it went to penalties, and Man United were knocked out. Travelling all the way back, and, well, we're going to have 1 or 2 tired legs today, no doubt. Let's see how they get on.
Middlesbrough line up with Ian Ironside in goal. At the back are Jonathan Gittins, Derek White, Jimmy Phillips and Chris Morris. Jonathan Gittins has had to come in at the last minute because captain Alan Kernahan got injured in the warm-ups. In midfield are Andy Peake, Jamie Pollock, Robbie Mustoe and Tommy Wright. And up front are Bernie Slaven and Paul Wilkinson. On the bench are Stephen Pearce, Mark Proctor and John Hendry. For Manchester United, Peter Schmeichel in goal. Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Clayton Blackmore and Dennis Irwin at the back. In midfield, Paul Ince, Mike Phelan, Darren Ferguson and Ryan Giggs with Brian McClare and Mark Hughes up top. And the substitutes for United are Gary Walsh, Brian Robson and Andrei Konchelskis. Not much going on up in Middlesbrough today, up until just before half time when Ryan Giggs found Dennis Irwin in the box. Jonathan Gittins sided him down and Dennis Irwin would have kept sliding, well, probably until this day if there was no sponsor audience there. Stonewall penalty, up steps, penalty taken extraordinaire, Steve Bruce to make it 1-0 to Man United. Yet again, Lenny Lawrence's Middlesbrough never give up, and just after the hour, Chris Morris floated a free kick forward, Wilkinson nodded it on, and there was Bernie Slaven to equalise for Middlesbrough and get involved in the crowd.
As expected, Man United's energy ran out before half-time. Travelling to Moscow and back was always going to take its toll. Brian Robson coming on the 70th minute though to make his Premier League debut. It's only going to boost Fergie's team for the remainder of the season. 1-1. And next up, we've got the London derby with Queen's Park Rangers at home, who haven't lost at home this season, against Tottenham Hotspur, who haven't won away from home this season. This only points one way to me. Easy win for Queen's Park Rangers. Let's see how it goes.
QPR line up with Czech Jan Steškal in goal, the only player from both teams today not from the UK. Alan McDonald, Darren Peacock, Clive Wilson and David Bardsley at the back, with Andy Impey, Ray Wilkins, Ian Holloway and Andy Sinton in midfield, with Dennis Bailey and the divine moustache Gary Penrice up front. On the bench, Tony Roberts, Danny Maddox and Gary Thompson. No less. What's going on there? No less. And for Tottenham, Ian Walker in goal, Neil Ruddock, Jason Cundy, Justin Edinburgh and Pat Van Den Houw make up the defence. In midfield, Vinnie Samways, Steve Sedgley, Paul Allen, Darren Anderton and a young Nick Barmby, with Teddy Sheringham up front on his own. On the bench, just 2 today, Terry Fenwick and 17-year-old Andy Turner. The first bit of action today came around the half-hour mark when Darren Peacock dithered on one under pressure from 18-year-old Premier League debutant Nicky Barmby, who rolled the ball across for King Teddy Sheringham himself to make it 1-0 to Spurs. 10 minutes into the second half, QPR got themselves back in the game after Ray Wilkins whipped a cross in. Andy Sinton tried to edit it, came off his back and landed on the boot of Ian Holloway, who smashed home to equalise. On the hour mark, Andy Sinton got the ball on the left with one of his dead-eye crosses, picked out the gentleman Ray Wilkins to make it 2-1 to QPR. Not 10 minutes later, Andy Impey got the ball on the right, he crossed the ball in, it went to Andy Sinton, he decided to run backwards and around and lay the ball across, and there was the divine moustache to make it 3-1 to QPR. In the 79th minute, after some great play by Dennis Bailey, David Bardsley rolled the ball in, and the divine moustache Gary Penrice smashed home to make it 4-1 to QPR.
And it was 1-0 to Tottenham at half-time, but a superb second-half performance from Queen's Park Rangers gives them the win. And they also move up to 3rd place in the league. Tottenham still without a win away from home this season. How long will that continue for them? And next up is Sheffield United against Southampton at Bramall Lane. And, well, I'm not sure I'm feeling, you know. Brian Deane started the season a Relive the League superstar, bagging 4 goals in 3 games. But it's gone 8 games without scoring now. Come on, Bri. Today's the day.
You dare besmirch Brian Deane. He'll come good. Sheffield United line up with Alan Kelly in goal, Brian Gale, Paul Beasley, Tom Cowan and Carl Bradshaw at the back. In midfield are Kevin Gage, John Gannon, Paul Rogers and Dane Whitehouse, with Adrian Littlejohn and Brian Deane up front. On the bench, again just 2 for Sheffield United, Mitch Ward and Alan Cork. Southampton line up with Tim Flowers in goal, Kevin Moore, Ken Moncow, Mickey Adams, Francis Benali and Jason Dodd at the back. 2 in the middle with Glenn Cockrell and Matt Letitia, Terry Groves, David Speedy, either side of Ian Dowie up front. On the bench are Ian Andrews, Neil Madison and Nicky Banger. We got the first bit of action today in the 4th minute with a comical swan dive punch from Tim Flowers, eventually leading to a corner to Sheffield United. Jim Gannon stood over the ball, whipped it in. Flowers decided, well, I don't know what he did there, and there was Dane Whitehouse to volley home to make it 1-0 to the Blade. On 26 minutes, Carl Bradshaw chased down and blocked a clearance which put Adrian Littlejohn clean through on goal, and he calmly slotted past Tim Flowers to make it 2-0 to the Blades.
He was unstoppable at the start of the season, and I'm not sure if the players have just got his number or what. 9 games now without a goal for Big Bri, but a huge 3 points for the Blades today to pull them away from the relegation zone. 2-0. Next up at Sellers Park, we've got Wimbledon against Aston Villa. I don't need to tell you much about this game. You know what's coming. It's Dalian Atkinson scoring that goal.
Wimbledon line up today with Hans Sagers in goal, Scott Fitzgerald, John Scales, Gary Elkins and Warren Barton at the back. In midfield are Paul Miller, Neil Ardley, Laurie Sanchez and Robbie Earle, with Andy Clark and John Fashnu Auga up front. On the bench are Neil Sullivan, Roger Joseph and Aidan Newhouse. For Aston Villa, it's Nigel Spink in goal, Sean Teal, Paul McGrath, Steve Staunton and Earl Barrett at the back. 3 in midfield with Gary Parker, Kevin Richardson and Ray Houghton, and Steve Froggatt, Dalian Atkinson and Dean Saunders up front. On the bench are Mark Bosnich, Brian Small and Dwight York. In the 5th minute, Steve Staunton got the ball. He gave it to Steve Froggatt. He gave it to Dean Saunders. Goal, 1-0, Aston Villa. Then, on the half-hour mark, Saunders played a 1-2 with Ray Houghton. Raced clear into the box. Placed the ball past Hans Sagers and made it 2-0 to Villa. That's now Saunders' 7th goal of the season. 6 for Villa, 1 for Liverpool. 5 minutes later, Andy Clark with some wicked wing play. He played the ball across. Miller shot on goal and it deflected off sub Aidan Newhouse to make it 2-1. And then, after a deflected Warren Barton cross on Saturday, the 3rd of October, 1992, at 4:33 p.m, the late great Dalian Atkinson did this. No more words needed. 3-1 Villa. In the last minute, Wimbledon got a consolation with Andy Clark firing on past Nigel Spink to make it 3-2, but Villa get the points today.
Dalian Atkinson, he's a big hitter in a 3-2 thriller to Aston Villa. That weren't vanilla.
I'm a bit. Next game.
And last up this week, we go up north to the glorious Oldham.
Glorious.
We've got Oldham Athletic at home to Everton. Now, Everton, they've only won 1 in 6, and they failed to score in the last 3 games. They're away at Oldham today. It's Super Sunday. Let's see how they can get on today.
Oldham line up with John Holworth in goal, Steve Redmond, Richard Jobson, Neil Poynton, Gunnar Haller and Paul Bernard at the back. 2 in midfield with Mike Milligan and Nick Henry, and Ian Marshall, Ian Olney and Graham Sharp up front, playing against Everton. On the bench, John Keeley, Craig Fleming and Neil McDonald. For Everton, Neville Southall in goal, Alan Harper, Gary Ablett, Dave Watson and Andy Hinchcliffe at the back. John Everell, Barry Horn and Precky in midfield, with Robert Varzicker, Paul Rideout and Mo Johnston up front. On the bench for Everton are Jason Caton, Peter Beagrie and Tony Cotty. Everton fans might want to look away now, and no, not because of the garish orange kit, because in the 8th minute, Nick Henry swung a corner in, Graham Sharp flicked it on, and Richard Jobson, who'd just been called up to the England squad this week, celebrated the best week of his footballing career by making it 1-0 to Oldham.
And things go from bad to worse for the Toffees. That's just 1 win now in 7 games. They are free falling. And they've not even scored 4 games. It's a professional football team. The aim of the game is to score goals. Anyway, Richard Jobson, hats off to you. You got your England call up this week. You got your goal that won the game for Oldham today.
Yeah, it was Oldham.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Great game. 1-0.
1-0. Right, so that brings us to the end of episode 11 of Relive the League. Let's have a look at the league.
Yeah, and Blackburn sit nicely at the top of the league with Norwich and Coventry just behind. Oldham, great win, sneaking them into the top half of the table. The bottom half, we've got Nottingham Forest still at the bottom of the table, and good wins for Liverpool and Sheffield United take them well away from the relegation zone for now.
Yeah, the goal scorers, Shearer got himself 2, Saunders got 2, Wright, Chapman and Atkinson with 1 each as well. Everybody's bagging. See you again another time.